Hey guys, welcome to the channel today. So earlier this week, I released a cover of Slipknot's Unsainted, and I got a lot of positive feedback about the guitar tone that I used in that video. And I actually made it in Reaper using totally free plugins. So I'm gonna make a tutorial today to show you how I made it, and maybe you can mess around with it yourself. First thing I'm gonna do is give you a couple clips of it in the full mix, and then the guitar isolated so you can hear it, hear how it sounds. Then we'll go over the hardware, and then I'll show you my signal chain, and that should be all you need to know. Alright guys, so just so you know about sort of my hardware setup that I was using in that video, obviously using my Holcomb's signature PRS, and I got Mark Holcomb Seymour Duncan humbuckers in there, and I'm playing with the pickup selector in the middle position. Really, there's not much of note here. You can use any guitar setup that you like. The main thing that's going to matter sonically is you want to have humbucker pickups for playing, this style of metal, but that's about it. Really, it's in drop B. Pretty much all Slipknot is in drop B, and I think these are Ernie Ball 52s on there. So that's it for the guitar setup. The only other piece of hardware that you're going to need other than your guitar is an audio interface. For this video, I used the Behringer UMC22 audio interface. It's a pretty good beginner option. You can get it on Sweetwater for like 50 bucks, I think, so it's not too expensive, but it does everything that you need it to do, and it's certainly going to do the job for this type of production. One tip I have about setting up your audio interface to get the best signal that you can out of it is, you see this light here will turn green when a signal comes in, and this light will turn red when you're clipping. You want to come as close to clipping as you possibly can without clipping too much. So a good trick for that is to play aggressive palm mutes, which are going to be, your largest spike. And you want to turn up the gain so you're just barely turning red when you're playing those aggressive palm mutes. So obviously like that, it's too much red, and there's probably not enough. You want to find that sweet spot right about there where you're just barely almost clipping with your most aggressive notes. All right, so we got our guitar set up. We got a nice strong signal coming out of our interface and into Reaper. Now it's time to jump in, take a look at the signal chain, and see what I'm using to get this tone. First thing in the line is just Reaper's stock tuner. Not much to discuss here. It's just no plugin is going to make an out-of-tune guitar sound good. So throw your favorite tuner in there, get yourself in tune, and that's all there is to that step. First real plugin in the line now is the GGate Noise Gate. This is a great free plugin for noise reduction. I have it set pretty low here. It's not anything crazy like an attack gent tone or anything like that, but it's good to just clean up a little bit of extra buzz that you're not going to want coming through. And next in the line here, we got the TSE 808 Tube Screamer. This is something that's very common in a lot of metal tones, whether they're using paid software or free software. This thing is great. It does everything that you need a tube screamer to do. As far as I'm concerned, there's no need to look elsewhere other than the 808. It does everything that you need it to do. I got the drive set almost all the way off. I don't need any extra gain coming from this really. It's going to come from the Amp Sim. But I do have the volume at about 3 o'clock. It gives you a nice signal boost going into the amp and a little bit above mid for the tone. So moving into the Amp Sim, we're using the Ignite Emissary. And this is another thing that is extremely common in free software tones. It is pretty much the standard free amp sim for metal tones. This thing is great. You can get some really, really cool tones out of it. For my settings here, I got all the knobs almost at noon, the gain straight at noon, bass and treble up a little bit, high and low mids down a little bit, and then I have the presence just above noon. But other than that, I haven't really changed the default settings too much. All the knobs off. Next in line is the Cab Sim and IR loader. I'm using the LeCab 2. I've used this thing forever. It's great. You can load any impulse response as long as you have it in a WAV file. Another option that you can use instead of this guy is if you're going to go download the Emissary from STL, they also have an IR loader that you can download with it for free, so that's a good option as well. There's really not too much to talk about here. As long as you have some Cab Sim that can load IRs, you can use your favorite IRs in there. That's all you need. And finally, in the chain, I have Reaper's stock EQ plugin. So if you're using Reaper or any other DAW, they're going to have a stock EQ. And Reaper actually has some decent EQ presets. And there's this EQ here that's a basic 11 band, supposed to model a Fender or Mesa amp. I like it a lot. I think it sounds great on this tone, and that's what I'm using. So that's the whole signal chain. Really, the only thing I would say is don't take any of these settings as gospel for this tone in particular. This is just, what works for my play style and how I chose to set it up. But yeah, by no means am I an expert, and obviously our play styles are going to be different, and how hard you pick and what kind of pickups you have and all that stuff is a factor. So this could be a good baseline for you to start out with. Everything's free, so can't hurt to give it a try. And yeah, start out with this baseline. You can keep messing around with it and see if you can find something that you like out of it. So other than the plugins and the effects that are on the signal chain, one other tip that I do have to get the most out of your sound here is you definitely got to be dual tracking your guitars. If you don't know what that means, it's you play your part once, pan it to the left, play it again, and pan that track to the right. And that's just going to give you a much more full sound. It's going to bring the most out of your tone, and it's going to sound a lot better. It's an absolute must to do, in my opinion. It makes it sound way more professional, and it sounds much heavier and much better. Especially something like these Slipknot octave choruses, where it's playing 8th, 16th notes on octave chords. They sound so much better with the dual track, so much more full. And it's definitely worth it to take the time, do 2 tracks, pan them left, pan them right. It sounds much better. Another thing that you can do if you're dual tracking your guitars is a band like Slipknot that has 2 lead guitarists, like Mick and Jim. You can play their complementary parts, play one on the left, play one on the right, and then that sound will blend together to create really cool effects. You can hear it a lot in the chorus of Unsainted. Pretty much everything that Slipknot does, it's that dual guitar effect is really coming through. So that's all I had to share today in regards to this Slipknot style tone. I hope you learned at least one thing from this video. Like I said, I don't claim to be an expert on making these tones, but I do think this one came out pretty good. So hopefully this is a cool baseline that you can use to start out with, and then mess around with it yourself from there. If you want to check out some of my Slipknot covers, I'll leave them up here. If you want to check out any of my other videos, I'll throw them up on the screen somewhere. And if you want to help out the channel, you can hit the subscribe button, share this video with a friend. It really helps us out a lot. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys soon with more videos. Peace.